My name is Paul Lamb and I'm a hedge layer based here in the West Country. We're currently on the Quantock Hills in Somerset and I'm laying this mixed species hedgerow. It's primarily hawthorn, but there's several other species that run through it. After I left school at 16 and a short amount of time working on farms, I went into a woodland where I did an apprenticeship with an old woodsman, and hedge laying was one of the skills that I learned while I worked with him, and it was just something that had a particular appeal for me, and I always kept my hand in and tried to do as much as I could. And as time's gone on, hedge laying has become more popular again and the workload has increased. I find myself getting busier and busier with hedge laying now as the years go on. The tools for hedge laying are quite simple and straightforward. I use a pruning saw, and the pruning saw will be used to clear out the hedge, take off any side branches that are growing off the main stems. And then the primary tool for hedge laying is the bill hook. And this is a Yorkshire pattern bill hook, and this will be used to pleach the stems, and that is to cut through the stem part way, about 4/5, and it can then be bent over and laid into the hedgerow. I also then have an axe, and the axe can be used also for pleaching, but I'll also use this to point stakes, and stakes will be used to support the laid pleachers. Finally, the binding will be put over the top. These are hazel rods that will be plaited between the stakes, and they will hold the pleachers and the hedge firmly in place while it's putting on regrowth and re-establishing. So the first stage of laying a hedge is to clear it out. You want to just leave the stems that you're going to work with and that are going to be laid in the hedgerow. So I'm going to cut out any horizontal branches, any dead wood, any bramble, anything that I don't want to use in the final build. So once the hedge has been cleared out and we can see what we've got to work with, the stems that have been left can be pleached. And pleaching involves cutting the stem 4/5 through. This will make it pliable enough, malleable enough to bend it over and add it into the hedgerow. The regrowth that will come from the stems will come from the cuts we've made, the pleaching cut at the base, but also all along the stem that has been laid diagonally, and this will thicken up the hedge. So once the stems have been pleached and laid into the hedgerow, there will be this piece of the stem that's stuck out from the pleaching cut, and this is known as the heel, and this needs to be removed. So we just use a pruning saw and we cut that off, and this is where the majority of the regrowth will come from. So once the stems have been pleached and laid into the row, they still need supporting, and the way we do this is with stakes that can either be cut from the hedgerow or cut from the coppice. So these are hazel stakes, and depending on the style of hedge will depend on where the stakes go. In this case, this is a Midland hedge, and the stakes will be put in just to the field side of the laid stems. The field side being where the livestock would be kept, the face here being where the regrowth comes and thickens up the hedge. So the distance between the stakes will be from your elbow to your fingertips, and we just put those in by eye and get them in as straight a line as possible. Just checking the distance. Once we've placed them in by hand, you can drive them in with a mallet or a sledgehammer. So the final stage of laying the hedge, now the pleachers have been cut, the stems laid, the stakes hammered home, we're going to weave hazel rods between them, and this will just hold everything in place and make sure the structure is firm. So we add a rod at every stake, it goes behind, and then is rolled together with the last rod, and then it goes behind and in front of the next stake, and this locks the whole structure in place and aids with the stock proofing again until the hedgerow puts on new growth and it'll be strong enough to support itself. So hedgerows have been part of the British landscape for thousands of years, and it's only been in the last century or so and the intensification of agriculture that we've lost so much of our hedgerows. But really they're so beneficial for wildlife. They provide perfect habitat for nesting birds, for small mammals, and of course invertebrates. The craft of hedge laying is what keeps a hedgerow not only stock proof, but in such a fantastic condition for our wildlife. There is no other method for maintaining a hedgerow that will keep it thick and healthy.